on Game Plan.
And I have to earn it too, and I feel like I've been earning it, and that's what I'm going to continue to do.
Michael Thomas got his money, and now he means business.
Just try to get that chemistry going with Drew, and then really just sinking in with the other receivers and tight ends that have been here.
We're recapping number 13's first day back and looking at the wide-open competition behind him at wide receiver. Plus, we'll take a look back at the best plays we've seen so far.
From Fox 8 Sports, this is Training Camp Game Plan, sponsored by Nissan and the 2019 Nissan Titan, backed by America's best limited truck warranty. Your Southern quality Ford dealers in the Ford F-Series, celebrating 42 years of truck leadership.
Welcome into Training Camp Game Plan. I'm Juan Kincaid. The Saints now have 9 camp workouts under their belts. And what hasn't gone unnoticed, how business-like this year's training camp has been. Finally becoming a part of it all, wide receiver Michael Thomas. His first workout was on Thursday, and he showed up with a $100 million contract in his back pocket. Sean Vazan has more on the arrival of Thomas.
The holdout is over. Michael Thomas's back end is a very rich man, as his teammate pointed out to him after practice.
How does it feel to have that much money?
I don't have any money yet.
Oh, okay. Signing bonus has dropped yet?
Nah, it hasn't.
It's coming to the tune of what could be $100 million over 5 years. Thomas is now the NFL's first $20 million wide receiver. He's earned it. His first 3 years in the league were unlike any other in NFL history.
Mike Thomas in stride. He's to the 30. He's to the 20. To the 10. Touchdown. Mike Thomas, 72 yards.
But now that he's paid, Thomas knows the expectation of himself only grows that much higher, and he has to keep that edge that got him here in the first place.
I come from a competitive family. My uncle was the first receiver drafted in 1996 overall at number 1, and when I got drafted, it was what it was. I went second, 47, and stuff like that, but I had to control what I could control, and now I feel like we both have a little something to talk about, see which one holds more weight. But, just being a competitor and wanting to be the best, I feel like when you set high goals and you attack them, so there's rewards at the end of it.
Thomas missed 5 practices altogether. He wanted to be here, and his extended absence felt longer and longer.
As it kept going on and prolonging, then it kind of got like, you kind of felt like days turned into weeks. So you just want to be out here, and we have ultimate goal to be playing last team standing and play for a championship. So I can't help my team at home.
But ultimately, he knew he had to let the process play itself out.
That's the business part of it, and that's, I hired an agent, and my agent is now he becomes the coach in negotiations, and I have to listen to the guy that I hired. So that was what they told me, and those were the protocols that I followed.
And having 13 back was simply a matter of picking up where they left off.
He's an important part of what we do offensively. He's experienced, felt real positive. I knew Mike was going to come in good shape, so it's good to have him back. It's good to see him out there moving around. He's a guy that, really works at his craft relative to the whole week leading up to the game.
I think there's definitely a presence and an attitude, a swagger to what he brings to the field. And, when he's out there, there's no half-speed rep. Everything is, 1,000 miles an hour, Mach 3 with your hair on fire with Mike. And I think everybody else elevates their game to that. I think he makes the guys he's going up against better.
Joined now by Saints Hall of Famer and Fox 8 Saints analyst Deuce McAllister. Deuce, Michael Thomas is back. The holdout is over. It lasted 5 practices, 6 days. Depending on how you look at the contract, he's the first $20 million a year wide receiver. But look, he's the highest paid guy in the NFL at that position. It's what he wanted. It's what he got. Now he's back. Good to have him here.
I think what you said, having 13 back is probably the most important deal. You know that he's happy for the team. They're happy to have him back. And so, it's to get to business. I mean, right now it's to get to business, try to get that chemistry going with Drew, and then really just sinking in with the other receivers and tight ends that have been here. But you're very happy for Mike, and, the hard work that he's been able to put in, it pays off for him.
Was there a time you were looking at and said, okay, if he's not back by this day, we might have an issue here? I mean, I think now that they're still pretty much in the early phases of camp, but was there a day you were looking at where it's like, this has got to get done by this time?
Well, it was really probably 2 preseason games, and so we still had a ways to go in that sense. That's when you probably knew that they were at a true impasse. I mean, but, if things were really ugly, you'd have had leaks left and right, either from the club side or the agent side. I mean, but none of that really occurred even throughout this whole process, and so for Mike and his camp, they did a great job.
Yeah, overall, it's been a pretty, I would say, cordial negotiation, despite it being pretty big negotiations. As you said, no real leaks of testiness on either side, which can happen in these types of negotiations. But while he was away, some other guys got some first-team reps, and a couple of guys have really taken advantage of that opportunity. I'm talking about number 17, Emmanuel Butler. He missed today, and he missed a little bit of Tuesday's workout, but still, you got to be impressed with the young kid out of Northern Arizona.
Well, you're definitely impressed with him, and, you know, hopefully he can bounce back fairly soon. You know, when he left, it was some type of lower leg injury, so he was able to walk off the field. He wasn't happy going off the field when he went off, but you know that he wants to be able to compete, and he's looked good. You know, the limited amount of reps he was able to get, you know, I know that they want to expand that, and they want to see what he can do against NFL competition.
The one thing I said on our show a couple of nights ago, the realest thing I've seen, like I've seen young guys kind of flash, and then all of a sudden the regular season rolls around, you never hear from them again. But when I see 87, Jared Cook, and the chemistry with Drew Brees, I think that is the thing we've witnessed the most, where you feel like, okay, that's going to translate to the regular season, and that's going to make a difference when the regular season gets here.
It has been, when he wanted to go and get a reception, when he wanted a completion, he looked for 87. And so I'm interested to see how teams try to attack him, knowing that you have 13 over there now, and then you have 41 that you have to worry about. I mean, because at some point, somebody's going to end up with a linebacker. You know, you can't bracket everyone, and you can't put your number one, okay, your number one corner goes with one of the three, so how are you going to attack it? And so, you know, as he understands positioning as far as where Drew likes to go with the football, he gets a little more comfortable with this offense. I think you can see his skill set is obviously there, but I mean, the sky's the limit for him.
Other side of the ball, defensively, Sheldon Rankins is obviously on PUP, but they addressed that position in the offseason with two guys. How have you seen kind of that interior of the defensive line kind of mesh as camp has gone on here?
Malcolm Brown has rush ability that I didn't know that he had in New England. You know, I think his ability to rush as a passer has probably been surprising to him. You know, you talk about Mario Edwards, his ability to be able to come in and play defensive end, play tackle for you. You know, that's kind of a 2-for-1 in a sense. And then Sylvester Williams has flashed, and he's had his moments, and he was a first rounder. So the talent is definitely there. You know, hopefully him putting everything together and, you know, being able to control the weight, being in that competition with, you know, Onyemata and then, you know, even Stallworth. That's a nice problem to have when you talk about just that rotation, and, you know, a guy that it's done well. Sean talked about him a little bit today is Trey Hendricks. You know, he's been able to flash a lot more. Injuries has probably kept him back more than anything, you know, in his first couple of years in the league.
Look, I think anytime you have a draft class that comes in, I know last year at this time, we're kind of waiting for it to happen. But this draft class, I got to say, you know, you look at McCoy, who's had the most first-team reps at center. You look at C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who was a safety/nickel, gotten a lot of reps at nickel, had 3 pass breakups and a sack 2 days ago. You look at Caden Ellis. You look at Alizé Mack. You look at Saquon Hampton, who's got some first-team reps. I've been impressed with the quick adjustment with the rookie class so far.
Well, it's finding a niche, and for those guys to be able to find a niche, that's what, you know, you want them to be able to do, and then just go in and excel. And so whether it's McCoy or CJ or even Caden Ellis to get some looks, you know, I think all of them have a specialty that they'll start off in, and then they'll just grow, you know. But like McCoy has an opportunity to start right away, and so we'll see how he can handle that.
Yeah, let's go there then. The center position, that's obviously, it's the only position where the incumbent is not clear, right? There's no incumbent coming back, so the starter is not clear, I should say. So you got McCoy, you got Nick Easton, you got Cameron Tom. But as I mentioned a few minutes ago, it feels like McCoy has gotten the majority of first-team reps, and Easton is starting to look like the new Senio Kelemete to me. What do you think out of that center position battle?
Well, I think the first thing is, you know, who's the most comfortable, and you know, you go and look. It's probably Cam Tom has had the most as far as snaps in this offense, and now McCoy and Easton, they get an opportunity to be able to do that. But, you know, what's interesting is all three of those guys, we hadn't seen McCoy play a lot of guard, but Easton and Cam Tom, they've lined up at guard. You know, whether you're talking about left guard or right guard, that's going to help them as far as making this team, because now once you get to game day, they can play either center or guard. So the versatility will be key, but it's a nice problem to have as far as the Saints are concerned.
You know, we mentioned Emmanuel Butler a few minutes ago. And there's always a guy you didn't necessarily have your eye on that kind of jumps out. I mean, I know you look at this through a football player's lens. I mean, who has kind of jumped out that maybe you weren't expecting to jump out through 6 practices
Well,
here?
I think Rashad Matthews is a veteran that's been around, and, you know, he came on really strong in minicamp, and he's been able to kind of do that as well. You know, on the defensive side, I think it's those big safeties. When you look at Terrell Williams and, you know, T.J. Green, their ability to be lone playmakers on the back end, you know, there will be some hard decisions as far as in that defensive back room. They've got a lot of talent there.
And I guess last question here. I've been impressed with, I've called it the all-business training camp. It just feels like no unnecessary motivational gimmicks, no rah-rah emotion. It feels like get in, get the task at hand done, move on to the next thing. It just feels like there's a very business-like, I guess, deliberate approach through the first early part of training camp here. Have you sensed that a little bit?
I don't have any wood here, but I'm knocking on it. Stay healthy.
Yeah.
I mean, if this group can stay healthy, they got some guys banged up, nicked up, etc., but they can stay healthy and avoid major injury throughout camp, this team is going to be there in the end.
All right, you sure you don't want to get back on the field? You got a few reps in you?
You going to give me your knees?
Can't do that. He's Deuce McAllister. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. Still to come here on Training Camp Game Plan, Michael Thomas's return only strengthens an already impressive wide receiver room, which players have stood out in the first 9 days of camp. We'll run down the list when we continue. And new to the Football on Fox 8 coverage this fall, our podcast. Wherever you are, you can continue the conversation by listening to the Fox 8 Sports crew talk about all things black and gold. You can find our podcast on fox8live.com, The Final Play and Tiger Huddle apps, and wherever you listen to your podcast.
You're watching Training Camp Game Plan, sponsored by Nissan and the 2019 Nissan Titan, backed by America's best limited truck warranty. Your Southern Quality Ford dealers and the Ford F-Series, celebrating 42 years of truck leadership.
Make sure you take advantage of all things that's on our Final Play app, including a slideshow from the camp. We've also got videos, blogs, and a chance for you to ask us a question by using the Final Word feature on the Final Play app. Even with Michael Thomas back in camp, one big question still remains. Will someone else step up and give Drew Brees another receiving option? Nearly 2 weeks into camp, and we've seen a number of guys that have had solid auditions for that job. Chris Hagan runs down the list of candidates.
There's no question that the Saints are top-heavy at receiver. Just look at the numbers. In 2018, Michael Thomas had more catches than everyone else at the position combined. But numbers can be deceiving. And at the root of the Saints' struggle to move the ball toward the end of the season was the fact that there wasn't another reliable target in big play situations outside of Alvin Kamara. However, that doesn't mean things won't change this fall. The talent is on the roster, and so far in camp, we've seen it just about every day. Starting with Keith Kirkwood, he continues to excel within the intermediate portion of the field.
This year I felt more confident going into this season. Off-season, just picking up everything I can from last year, watching extra film with me and myself in the game, just tuning up the detail. That's the biggest thing, is making sure I don't make the same mistakes last year. So this off-season I've just been paring my tail off every single day and just waiting for this opportunity.
There's also Traquan Smith, who had us most excited last year coming out of training camp. While he flashed in a few games against Washington and Philadelphia, far too often he was also a non-factor. But there's a lot that can be learned between year 1 and year 2.
I don't have to think about my splits anymore. When I'm running out there, I already know, based off of some play calls, what my split's going to be. So I feel way more comfortable, which allows me to play it at 100% instead of, versus last year where I was playing at 80 because, I'm not knowing what to do. I'm sure about what to do.
And filling that role that Traquan had last year as the standout new face in camp, none other than Emmanuel Butler, the undrafted rookie out of Northern Arizona. Number 17's consistently made the tough catches and given his quarterbacks a big target. Better yet, he's not letting the early hype go to his head.
It's pretty cool to come out after practice and see your phone blowing up a little bit. So it's been pretty fun after the fact. But when I'm on the field, I try not to focus on it. I try to just focus on, making plays and making sure I'm 100% ready to go.
But all that being said, we've seen these types of stories in training camp before. Wide receiver coach Curtis Johnson says he does like what he's seen from Butler, but now we need to see it under the lights in the Dome.
Smart guy, one of my coaches at Tulane, he coached him, Aaron Price, and I'm just telling you, he's an athletic guy. I can't wait to get him in the games. Now, this guy gonna make some plays for us.
Next Friday night can't get here soon enough. Reporting on the Saints, I'm Chris Hagan for Game Plan.
Thanks a lot, Chris. Up next on Training Camp Game Plan, relationships are important in sports. And in New Orleans, the city's two biggest stars are front and center with their newfound relationship. Garland Gillen will have that story when we come back.
Beat.
You're watching Training Camp Game Plan, sponsored by Nissan and the 2019 Nissan Titan, backed by America's best limited truck warranty. Your Southern Quality Ford dealers and the Ford F-Series, celebrating 42 years of truck leadership.
Right now, football and basketball are big talking points in the Crescent City thanks to Brees and Zion, two mega stars that have their respective fan bases salivating over the possibilities of what's to come this season. Perhaps that's why these two guys have hit it off from the beginning, and why Brees is anxious to show the rookie the ropes in his new town. Here's Garland Gillen.
Zion, welcome to the family. Let's dance.
Draft night, Zion got a one-of-a-kind present from Drew Brees, an autographed jersey signed, passing the torch to you. Zion, a transcendent talent in his own sport, was overwhelmed by the moment.
That was just my personal statement to him, just welcoming him to the city and letting him know that I want to be there for him as a resource, whatever I can do. I mean, I feel that way about every rookie that walks in the door here too. You know, whatever I can do, just because of the way I feel about this city and these organizations, and from the ownership down.
Brees is 40 years old. Zion is only 19. Drew's kids are actually closer in age to Williamson, but age doesn't matter. They share something very important. Both give their franchises hope that a title could be won in any given season.
First of all, let's take a step back. Zion hadn't played a game yet, right? Hadn't even stepped foot on the court yet for the Pelicans during the regular season game. So as much excitement as there is, and I think at the end of the day, it's, you know, for me as being a guy who knows what it's like to come to a city and feeling like, man, it's kind of starting from scratch, you know, and building something from the ground up. You know, that's the way we felt when we came here in 06 with Sean Payton and all the guys that came in that year.
Another thing Zion and Brees possess, great taste in clothes. And that style appears to be passed down to the Brees boys. At the ESPYs, Zion rocked the same tuxedo as the kiddos.
That was the first time we had met Zion. Didn't know that I was going to see him. It was literally right when we walked out of the hotel to jump in our car to go to the red carpet. So my boys are there with the maroon tuxedo jackets on, with the black lapel, and then out walks Zion. Same outfit. So it was just like, this is meant to be. You know, it was awesome.
Brees admitted after practice that the jersey he signed for Zion Williamson, talking about passing the torch, he did not know that was going to be used for public consumption. Hey, it got out though. In Metairie, Garland Gillen, Fox 8, Local First.
Still to come, training camp's best plays, and there have been a lot of them. And we'll get you ready for week 3 of camp, which will take us right up to the Saints' first preseason game against the Vikings. And don't forget, we've got much more Saints coverage on the Final Play app. Analysis, blogs, slideshows, videos, all of that's on there. And you can submit a question for us to answer by using the Final Word feature on the Final Play app.
By Nissan and the 2019 Nissan Titan, backed by America's best limited truck warranty. Your Southern Quality Ford dealers and the Ford F-Series, celebrating 42 years of truck leadership.
Camp continues for the Saints tomorrow with their 10th workout beginning the normal time, 8:50 in the morning. The weekend will be highlighted by a Sunday workout at Tulane-Julman Stadium. It goes from 7 to 9. It's free and open to the fans. No tickets necessary. Monday's workout closed to the fans. Wednesday back on the field, normal time, 8:50. If you have a ticket, here's a taste of what you should expect to see. The best plays from camp so far.